Deon Price, This Youth Generation, Life of a Youth Worker, Life Skills Academy. Today's subject or conversation is based on a column that was recently written. The column talks about when is enough when parents are doing too much for their grown kids. Does doing too much for your grown kids create an irresponsible dependent adult? That was the basis of the subject of a recent column. Got some interesting feedback, but the bulk of the column talked about the environment where today's generation of young people are having to live with their parents for much longer than previous generation. We have young people who are staying with their parents 25, some even late 20s and even 30 years old. And what circumstances would allow our young people to continue to be dependent on their parent? And what role does the parent do to help enable? Are they helping or are they hurting? Where do we draw the line? Some examples are some of those individuals, not the boomerang kids. You know, we have boomerang that leave and come back. These are not the boomerang kids. These are anchors. These kids never left. Still sleeping in the same bunk bed that they was when they was little kids. They never left. You stuck with these. These are the young people I'm talking about. The parents that have grown individuals that are still living with them and they're trying to get them. How do we deal with that dynamic? And the column brought up some circumstances considering today's economy, where a generation ago, I could get an apartment when I was in college in 1992, in the mid 90s. I can get an apartment for $650 a month. My first car was only $450. I had a VW Bug and I had an apartment for $650. Minimum wage was only $5, $6 an hour, but I was surviving. That is a different ball game. You cannot do that. That same apartment I was living in the early 90s is now $2,500 for the same apartment, and ain't nothing changed but the rent. Ain't nothing changed. So we're living in a tremendously challenging economic environment where housing is through the roof. Let's take that into consideration. But does that still mean that our young people are not trying? Are we setting them up for failure by doing too much for them? We have individuals that are using school as a crutch. They've been in school now, it's 10 years. They won't, some of them won't work. Some of them are working part-time, but still not contributing to the household. Some of them are even have kids of their own now. Now they have kids living with them and their parents. When does it become the onus of the parent to tighten the screws and put them in a situation where they can develop into responsible adults? How much of that is the parent setting them up for failure? Because if you don't press them and put them in position where they're developing their independence, then why would they leave? They're comfortable. And that's happening in some situations. There are some situations. I just spoke to a parent recently who said she does not want her grown kid to work because she wanted that young individual to concentrate on school and school only. Understandable. Mid-20s, got your degree. Now, my question would be, okay, what's your next move, right? And what is the next move? Do they have a plan? And are they executing that plan? Is there a time frame for that plan? So these are some of the dynamics and the conversations that are raised. Very interesting conversations. It gets personal, it gets emotional, but it's relevant because we have a generation of young people that are really becoming too dependent on their parents, and we have a generation of young people that are not becoming independent. So how do we fix that? How can we support that? How can we help them become responsible adults? And it depends on the circumstances or the parent, because I'm one of those individuals that had grown individuals, and I had to work diligently to get them out on their own. And I'm like, look, if you anybody taller than me got to lead. I got to be the tallest one in my house. I'm looking at my 16-year-olds and look, bro, okay, I done already put the shot clock on him. What's your next move? So in all honesty and fairness and in all seriousness, we do have to consider the environment. We still have to help them. But how do we make sure we don't cross the line from helping to enabling? So listen, let's get back some feedback from some of this column. There's some readers. I want to give you some readers' feedback, and I would like your input on this so we can continue this conversation and see some perspectives of some different people. So here's a couple of readers' feedback. I'll give you a couple of them. SK reader from Fairfield says, Mr. Price, there is a difference between helping versus enabling. You know, I cannot believe how many boomerang kids there are, some still at home with their parents into mid-30s, maybe even their 40s. That's very true. You know, so we have that. So that's a boomerang, they're coming back and they never leaving. So Could there be some other situations like some developmental issues, some addictions, some substance abuse, whatever it is? Let's deal with those. I recommend that we mandate. You are the power. You have the keys to the city. You're the king of the castle, the queen of the castle. So you can mandate your grown individual pay a certain amount of money a month of rent, pay a certain bill, make sure they take some economic classes or some money management classes so they can know how to manage their money when they get it. I had a parent also who was a auntie, had a nephew living with her, saying that she collected monthly rent every month from him, but she saved that money. She was collecting an amount of monthly rent she saved for him. She was putting it in the savings account. So when that time came, of that year and a half that they agreed upon, he couldn't say he didn't have money because no, you don't. Here it is, bro. Here's your bag. Good luck. Go do your thing. That's something that I would recommend. If you don't need the rent, collect something because it teaches them to be responsible. Just a thought. I'd like to know your input on it. Let me take one more reader's comment. Rick Wood from Vacaville, Northern California. Good advice. I'm surprised I learned a little late, but not too late. Thank goodness my son is doing great, and I'm proud of him. He got on his own, went to the military, onward and upward. Well, he went somewhere, right? Sometimes you got to put them on course to doing something, whether it's college, whether it's career direction, whether it's military. At least they try. Go out and try it. And if it don't work out, then you can come back. That's a boomerang kid. Then we're talking about the anchors that never left, never tried, never got out, never done anything. Those are the ones that are becoming problematic. And another conversation and another subject we're going to talk about is how that affects the parents in their ongoing relationships. Yeah, that's going to be another subject matter. Dating someone or you dating while you have a grown person in the house. Another subject matter, we're going to delve into that. This generation, Deon Price, life of a youth worker, just a humble servant trying to make a difference.